Hello, everyone. We are back with an emergency trade reaction video. Ben, less than an hour ago, we recorded the podcast episode with Joey and Nick talking about the Kevin Durant trade and the draft. And we got another trade here to talk about. Ben, how are you doing?
Doing good, of course, still, just like it was on the full podcast episode. I wish this would have happened a little earlier because imagine if we were recording a podcast and a trade happened while we were recording a podcast. That would have been crazy, but
I know, if
it's
only,
cool
but we do.
anyways.
Yeah, we still have a very cool trade. I'm just sitting on my couch in front of here playing some 2K, and then I start getting a couple of notifications on my phone, and I'm like, "Oh boy, something just happened." I did not expect this to happen. We had a trade between the Boston Celtics and the Portland Trailblazers, sending Drew Holiday and 2 second-round picks from the Celtics to the Blazers in exchange for Anfernee Simons. So, Ben, we knew that the Boston Celtics heading into this offseason extremely expensive after winning the 2024 championship, just last year. So we knew they were going to have to make some moves to shed some salary and get a little bit cheaper and not pay like 200 million over the second apron. And this is the first move. They trade Drew Holiday for Anthony Simons. What are your initial reactions?
Yeah, so I was surprised by the trade. I, you know, was figuring that Drew Holiday was going to get traded, but I didn't quite expect it to be the Portland Trailblazers to be the team doing it. But I do really like this for the Celtics. I did not think they were gonna get this good of a player back for Drew Holiday, and this is a pretty good player they got back in Anfernee Simons, who they compared the backcourt with Derek White. That should be a nice backcourt pairing. That will be a lot of fun next year, and I guess now that the Trailblazers traded him, I didn't quite expect Portland to trade him, but I guess with that, I'm thinking that the Trailblazers were thinking that Anthony Simons was just kind of the odd man out of their backcourt because I mean they have Scoot and Shaden Sharp as well. So it's interesting that Portland did it. I guess it's all right. I guess Simons was the odd man out there. I guess how they could fit in and be a good veteran leader there.
Yeah, I mean, this is a trade where honestly, I think this might be a win-win, and we'll get to grades at the end of this thing. But for the Celtics, to be able to get Anthony Simons for Drew Holiday, like you just said, Ben, in a situation where Drew Holiday coming off of he's 34 years old. He's an old guy getting up there near the end of his career, but still a very valuable player, for his defense, his rebounding, his play. I mean, he's a very versatile player, an all-star just in 2023, not that long ago, and has played a huge role on two championship teams in the 2020s. But this past year was not good. It was definitely the worst season of his career. Uh, since his rookie season in Philadelphia, didn't shoot the ball well, missed 20 games during the regular season, and really was a non-factor in the Celtics' two playoff series against Orlando and Boston. So after they're eliminated, I'm just like, man, all right, we know the Celtics are going to make some moves. And Holiday and Porzingis are probably going to have to get traded, but both of those guys are coming off of horrendous playoffs where Holiday was a non-factor, and we'll see what happens with Porzingis. He has this viral illness injury thing that we don't know what it even is, but it caused him to be unplayable in the Knicks series in the second round. He didn't look good at all. So to have one of those guys, Drew Holiday, who is on a massive contract. I mean, let me see his exact contract. Drew Holiday, let's see, under contract until 2028. So when Drew Holiday is what, 38 years old, he'd be making $37 million. It's not a good contract at this point. And you were able to get him off for Anthony Simons, who's a very good scorer, really good three-point shooter on high volume, and a solid playmaker as well. It's a little bit low key because he's played in Portland his entire career. But I mean, you just traded someone that really wasn't good for you and aging and on a bad contract for Anfernee Simons, who is also on the final year of his contract, so he fits what Boston wants to do financially as well.
Yeah, the Celtics are moving off of a lot of money for Drew Holiday. Now I think they kind of get under the second apron after doing this trade since Anthony Simons doesn't have too big of a contract, and that really was quite a smart deal financially and just for trying to upgrade the team for them to be competitive and pretty good, hopefully, even without Jason Tatum for most or all of next year. I think Simons could come right in and play pretty well, and I think he could fit the team good.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, next season, I mean, we've been talking about how the Celtics might be out of the mix of things in the Eastern Conference because Tatum is out, but I mean, they're still going to be pretty good with Anthony Simons and Derek White in the backcourt, as you said. That's going to be a really good backcourt with Jalen Brown, of course, Tatum when he gets healthy the next season if Simons is still there. That's a really good top four. And then they still have Porzingis, who's on the final year of his contract next year, so they could eat up his contract for the rest of next season and then move on from him after that. But even if they wanted to keep him, Simons, White, Brown, Tatum, and Porzingis, that's really good still. Like that is still very, very good. Now the question will be, will Anthony Simons be able to play well enough for them to re-sign him? And will the Celtics still be in the same kind of trouble that they're in right now? Because Simons is that good. I mean, he could this season he could be an all-star with how wide open the Eastern Conference is. He could easily I mean, the last 3 years, he's put up 21 points, 23 points, 19 points, 4 or 5 assists a game. That is a starting point guard on a Celtics team that still could be really good in the East. He could be an all-star. So the Celtics may still need to have some bigger decisions, but I'd much rather have to worry about those decisions with a 25-year-old Anthony Simons than a 34-year-old aging Drew Holiday.
Yeah, it's definitely good that, the Celtics are getting younger, and I think Simons fits the timeline of the team. And yeah, Drew Holiday, he's just not really getting any better, getting older. It's kind of holding the team back in the playoffs too.
Yeah, yeah, I would probably agree, but I do like it for Portland also kind of a little bit because you're right, Ben. I mean, they make this move for I think a combination of reasons. One, because of the guard room that they have. I mean, this is a very young team that at times was competitive last year. They tried to make a final push to make the play-in tournament. The West was just too stacked, but a very talented team that I have been high on, for the last year or so with Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp, Denny Avdia, Tamani Kamara, and Donovan Klingen as your like core five players with the super young team that I think may want to be a little bit competitive next year and try to make a little bit of noise because they're a very good defensive team. You get another one of the best defenders of this, generation here in Drew Holiday, who is still pretty good on that end of the floor. And he can still do a little bit more on the floor when given the opportunity. At least I think. I think a lot of times he just didn't have to do a whole lot for the Celtics because they had Brown, Tatum, and White to handle the ball a lot more. Holiday was kind of just a spacer and a cutter, and that's really it. I think on this Portland Trailblazers team, he could be a veteran that could help them take the next step. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. As how they could come in and be a great veteran leader. They don't really have anybody who's like super old or like super experienced like Holiday is. He could do great job of bringing that experience there, and he could help them out with you know with winning and trying to win more games and be more competitive over there next year by teaching the younger guys there how to try and get that accomplished. And I think he can fit it good too. I think he makes them better defensively. He's definitely a better defender than Simons, but obviously not as good as the offensive end. But I think part of why the Blazers did this though is that they're believing that Shaden Sharp and Scoot Henderson could hopefully take a leap on the offensive end and play pretty well there to help make up for that. So I think it's good for the Trailblazers. And I was kind of surprised that they did it, but I think it could work out good.
Yeah, I think it could work out, pretty solidly as well. To have a guy like Drew Holiday to be their mentor this year is going to be pretty good. Scoot Henderson and Shaden Sharp. Henderson has been okay. He hasn't been anything too special. I mean, the point guard position is the toughest one to learn, I think, coming into the league as a young player, and he's been able to grow a little bit. He's basically been a backup point guard to Simons. A year ago it was to like Malcolm Brogdon, other guys like that. But now he'll have a chance to learn under Drew Holiday, or he could still be a six man and show some things there. I think that the third year is really key for those point guards to make that next step. We've seen it as Cavs fans. Darius Garland's third year, that's when he made his first All-Star game. I'm trying It wasn't Jalen Brunson's third year, it was his fourth year where he made a really good step in his final year with Dallas. Cade Cunningham, his fourth season. I mean, the third and fourth years are really key for young guards. And for Scoot Henderson entering his third year, Shaden Sharp entering his fourth year, it's going to be very key for those guys to have the type of leadership around them to grow, and for that Blazers team to take a step into becoming a team that could make a run at the play-in tournament or the playoffs next year. And Shaden Sharp was a lot healthier last year. He averaged 18 and a half points per game, not the greatest shooter in the world. This Blazers team definitely is going to have to make some other moves to try to get some offense in there, since they lost by far their best scorer with Simons. But this is still a young team with growing potential, and I really like it. They're going to have to make some decisions coming up in the next few seasons, as a lot of guys are up on their final year of the deal next year, like DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams, Matisse Thybulle will be. He'll probably accept this player option. And then after that, in next summer, they're going to have a lot of money and room to make decisions to try to make their team better. And now Holiday fits in with that as potentially a long term piece to help bring the Blazers back to relevancy.
Yeah, and of course they also have Daddy of Diha. I think he
Yeah,
could take
absolutely.
another leap too offensively next year. He was scoring it pretty well to end the season. Of course, this past year, and I believe he's gonna be pretty good again, and even better, as I believe he can be big for the Trailblazers coming up with helping the team take a good leap.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's give a couple grades on this trade for the Celtics and for the Blazers. Let's see. For the Boston Celtics, I'm gonna give him an A minus, because this helps their money situation in a huge way, and they got a way better player at this point who can still get better. Maybe not a way better player, but someone who has a much higher upside at this stage of their career. In Anfernee Simons, much better than Drew Holiday. So I'll give an A minus to the Celtics, because this also still allows them to be competitive next year in an Eastern Conference that is wide open. And then for the Blazers, let's see, man. I'll give them a B minus, because they got veteran leadership. Just the two second round picks, got no other really great draft assets. But I think it's a solid move. I don't think it's bad by any means. They got a veteran to help lead their young guys. I think the Blazers are ready to try and take the next step into becoming, maybe having a year like the Houston Rockets had last year, where they're trying to fight for the play-in tournament all season, just come up close. Maybe they're in that same boat. Maybe they make the play-in tournament. Maybe they have a crazy year and make the playoffs. But this could be the move that they need to get into that area. So B minus for Portland, A minus for Boston. Ben, how about you?
For me, I will give Boston, a great move by Boston. Brad Stevens, he just seems to really know what he's doing as their general manager. He continues to do a great job as their GM with another great trade here. Yeah, this, you know, gets rid of a lot of money. Holiday, yeah, wouldn't really do them any good going forward. And Anfernee Simons, I think, is going to fit them great. I'm looking forward to that for Boston. But for Portland, I think I'm also going to have to give them a B minus. Yeah, I thought it was a good move, one I wasn't quite expecting. Yeah, um, they did get rid of their best scorer from last year, but they'll get some more defense at point guard from Drew Holiday, and Drew Holiday, I think, will be a great veteran leader that I think can help lift these young guys here, and I guess I agree with them that Shaded Sharp and Scoot could hopefully take a leap coming up during the season. So it was a solid trade for Portland.
Yeah, I mean they are. Portland is a very versatile team now at this point. I mean, Jeremy Grant when he plays is still a pretty good scorer. I don't know how I forgot. uh, Did I mention Denny Avdia? When I know you mentioned him, but Denny Avdia, I mean, arguably their best player last year with his versatility out there. So still a very, very solid team. So I'm excited what they will do going forward. And for Boston, I mean, I think this is going to be the first of many moves that we'll see in the offseason. Shams even said the Celtics remain engaged in trade talks surrounding multiple key players on the roster. Only time will tell which key players those are, because maybe that does include Derek White. Maybe that does include Jalen Brown. I think it does definitely include Porzingis. Maybe it involves Pritchard. We'll see. I think this is the first of many moves that we will see from the Boston Celtics. But overall, there's the final look at the trade. The Celtics receiving Anfernee Simons from the Blazers for Drew Holiday and 2 second-round picks. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this emergency trade reaction video. Ben, thanks for joining. You have anything else before we get out of here?
Nope.
All right, then let's peace on out. Make sure you guys check out our full podcast video, which is also up, where we talked about Game 7 of the Finals from Sunday. Talked about the other big trade with Kevin Durant going to the Houston Rockets, and previewing the 2025 NBA Draft, the first round, which is tomorrow. So stay tuned for all of that. Make sure you check that out. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA content. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you in the next one.
Peace.